Alright, welcome back to the witch. Really nice. Let us continue with the chapter 5. And whatever the fuck we have to deal with. Break time was over. Yay. There stood Aoko Aozaki and Soujuurou Shizuki. The first idle conversation they had since the first meeting had come to an end. Not that they had a choice of the matter, but there was a jarring murmuring from around the corner that cut it short.
Nemo mev nus memnit, vedroit extinct est. Initio eraberamos dom brevimus dolores sunt. Nemo adiuvat.
Well, I'm so very tired to hear that. The enemy was just around the corner, visible in the mirrors parallel to it.
悠長に話してる場合じゃないわね。とにかく今は距離を。
In contrast to Aoko's elegant blues, its lights were a malicious red.
感動打ち。
Yeah. There was a momentary flash of light before she even extended her arm. It can't even bounce off without distraction. But then, since she saw the enemy, her dormant feelings erupted once more.
さっきから邪魔なのよ。
She shaded all of her pent-up anger and shredded it into her right arm. The fog that filled the corridor was no magical weaving, but rather a barrier of raw energy. It was equivalent to setting ablaze to 3 buckets of gasoline to create a ball of fire, in the hope it would stop an arrow in flight. If the puppet had attacked it with its arm, it could have pierced such a wall easily. But, because it had loose curses with no definitive form, the wall of energy repelled the attack. Neat. Well, it was a huge waste of magical energy. It was the only means Aoko had to protect herself in that very moment. Fortunately, his protection was except to Aoko alone. Oh. Showa held his hand to his mouth. Well, the curse had been weakened to the point where Aoko could no longer feel it. It had plenty of effect on Soujuurou, who was not a mage. As if understood this fact, the puppet turned his gaze from Aoko to the unanticipated human behind her.
こいつは関係ないでしょ。
Yeah, she's the one who's gonna kill me. At least she swung her forward once again. The blue light formed the wall to block the gander for a scant few seconds. It was enough of an opening to exploit. Just as Aoko was forming the wall, the puppet pointed its right arm at her face, and...
関係あるみたいだから逃げるぞ。
Before the rocket of death could be fired, Soujuurou scooped her up into his arms. So Aoko, how has the day with the Showa so far? How he mustered the strength to do so was a mystery. But he turned his back on the puppet and took off running. He was a nimble sprinter, resembling a deer leaping across obstacles. Soujuurou ran 2 more corners, ignoring whatever complaints Aoko was making, and eventually stopped in the middle of the second floor. He set her down.
よし、ここまで来れば少しは休めるな。
Soujurou's shoulders heaved as he got his breath. As light as she was, running while carrying someone else would make anyone mind it. She looked up at him in incomprehension.
こんな体力あったのに、なんで？
It made no sense to her. If he had the stamina to pick her up and run, surely he could have stood up and escaped when he had been downed earlier.
ああ、あの時は諦めてたから。
His words were unfiltered as ever. Though in this moment, fighting for their lives, He lacked some of his usual absent-mindedness.
諦めてたってどうして？
さあ、忘れた、そんなことは。
Though he may have turned away because he regretted saying it aloud, his words spoke volumes. For some reason, it paid Aoko to see him like that.
それより青崎、唐突に気分が悪いんだが、あの赤い光も、その。
ええ、魔術の類よ。ガンド打ちって言ってね。北欧の呪詛の一つ。魔術回路のある私には効かないけど、抵抗のないあなたには効果てきめんみたいね。
やったー。
なんだ、青崎には効かないのか。じゃあ、危ないのはあの腕だけだな。
Aoko had no idea why he was relieved, but she gritted her teeth and fought down the urge to snap at him. There was no use in yelling at a time like this. Above all, she felt that it would have been petty in the extreme to voice her annoyance right now.
そうね。注意するのは伸ばしてくる腕だけ。大した相手じゃないわ、やっぱり。
This time it was not false bravado. Such an enemy would normally be a priest for Aoko Aozaki, but her shameful negligence had led to the disruption of her magic circuits, making her even less formidable than her enemy. At this point, Aoko had no way of attacking. The only option left to her was to wait for it to expend all of its magical energy, but its perpetual curse mechanism made that a non-starter. This game of tag would not end until one of them was dead. She realized that she was in the same position she had cornered Soujuurou in earlier. She glanced at her right arm. She could not imagine how she had gotten into such a mess with her magical energy at more than half of its capacity. This had to be a karma for having enjoyed toying with Soujuurou earlier.
呆れた。いるところにはいるものね、神様って。
She grumbled under her breath as she shifted her focus. She had a fuel for the fire, but not a igniter. And that killing machine would chase her until the end of time if needed be. What she should do next was blindingly clear. She had to get back to normal.
青崎、
ごめん、考え事してた。確か。よし、合ってる。しずきくん、そこに横道あるのわかる？
あ？
Aoko pointed, but he could see nothing but the walls of the corridor. For one thing, the floor had nothing but left turns, and Aoko was pointing to the right.
2階は中心まで行くと1階に降りる階段があるんだけど、それは私が壊したから使えないの。けど、ここの作りも意地が悪くてね。よく見れば、右に曲がる通路もあるのよ。上級者だけにわかる抜け道ってやつ。あとは注意して探せば、1階の階段までショートカットできる。悪いけど、一人で行って。
Aoko turned her back to Soujuurou and started walking. Walking in the opposite direction of the escape route and down the long corridor towards the puppet in pursuit.
あいつは無差別だから、ここで壊さないといけない。魔術師は、魔術師同士で争うのはいいんだけど、みだりに一般人に手を出しちゃいけないって決まりがあるの。あいつの目的は私のわけだし、結果がどうあれ、すっきりするでしょ。
If Aoko won, the puppet would be destroyed. If Aoko lost, this objective would be complete and it would shut down. Either way, them going their separate ways would mean Soujuurou survived. This is what Aoko meant. Though she explained it as if the events were happening to two totally different people.
運が良ければ入り口までたどり着けるわ。それじゃあ、また明日ね。
Even Soujuurou could tell she was just trying to act tough. But she had already disappeared around the corner by the time he thought to stop her.
さて
Mentally, Aoko bemoaned the disaster she was in. The quality of this puppet was on a completely different level compared to the one from the park 2 days ago. An auto-incanting perpetual motion machine was a rarity in and of itself, but this puppet was also equipped for battle with its extended arms and gander projecting crystalline eyes. It was a first-class product that, if put at the market, would sell for hundreds of millions of yen. Although that was not even factoring in its value as an antique. For the purposes of combat, it would have made more sense to mobilize a significantly less expensive familiar. To use such a precious commodity as a tool for murder marked this puppet's master as a completely different breed of crazy from the enemies she had faced up until now.
Vivo insomn, solitare putoresco inferis. Ictius mers obitus dies, et mers nativus dies. Theoberum.
No.
来たわね
Jesus, this question as fuck. There. The sound of a crackling music box filled the air. Yay. The automata, animated by its own curses, approached. The corridor measured approximately 30 feet in length. Aoko lay in wait around the corner further down the hall, anticipating the puppet's appearance. This was not to buy Soujuurou time to escape. Far from it. Aoko had concluded that she couldn't make a break for it under the current circumstances. Even if she did try to escape, and by some miracle made it out of the House of Mirrors, that was as far as she would go. Outside, with no cover, Aoko would quickly be overtaken and skewered from behind. As long as her magecraft was disabled, escape was impossible. Instead, she chose to force the enemy back. Her situation was not the most favorable, but neither was the puppet's. Though this narrow hall gave Aoko no place to run, it in turn prevented the puppet from reaching full speed. That was the weak point of this machine. Automata of its era had a tendency to struggle with many changes in speed.
セット
She flowed energy into her shorted circuits. Her blood flow and magical energy supply were unstable. It would be difficult to construct a formula in this state. All she could do was harden her right arm by imbuing it with as much energy as she could. Doing so turned her arm into an improvised weapon like a hammer or bat. Assuming she could manage to get into close combat range, this was the best she could do. All she needed now was a plan of attack. The question wasn't what weapon to use, but how to use the weapon she had. The simplest way would be to use the mirror's reflections to hide and then rush the puppet from its blind spot. Except for one major problem. It did not have a sense of sight in the first place. The puppet's view of the world around it did not stem from visual feedback, but from mapping the topography of its surroundings. In theory, it was the same as a bat's echolocation. The environment could be measured based on the emission and return of high-frequency sound waves. Those chants served as sensor pulses. As far as the puppet was concerned, the mirrors were no better than transparent panes, making even the thought of an ambush laughable.
近づけば近づくほどよりリアルに察知される本当は遠距離からの狙撃が最適なんだけどガンドを撃ってくるならフィンの一撃ぐらい隠してるわよね
What, Finn shot? Gander was Scandinavian in origin and, considering its simplicity, highly versatile. It was most effective at impairing a target's health by pointing a finger. As a single-action magecraft, it was limited to the only causing illness. But there was a secret technique said to be the greatest mastery of the Gander shot. The fin shot. It could do more than cause simple illness. It was a deadly curse that could stop the heart. The wound in her back set her nerves on fire. And an unarmed girl and a deadly automaton. It was clear that she was the one destined for death. She considered her slim chances of survival when... a vision sent chills down her spine. Quietly, using everything she could to clamp down on the feeling, Aoko faced her all too familiar illusion. She clenched her teeth to keep them from making a deafening clatter. But there, the sensation of fingers crawling up her neck. Behind her, the spectre stared and laughed. This alone made Aoko want to bolt. And on top of all, and Aoko tried to mentally simulate the coming fight. She estimated a 2 in 10 chance of dying in the first 5 seconds. The 20%. At times, her predictions were harsher than reality. If Aoko fought the puppet 10 times, she would die twice. She could not stop herself from visualizing her own corpse. She imagined herself collapsing, grappling under the puppet's skirts. Her eyeballs swollen like a blowfish, blood and other fluids oozing from every bodily orifice. 1 in 5, 1 in 5, 1 in 5. A 1 in 10 chance of death was bad enough, but 1 in 5, it drove her crazy. Aoko forced down her heart as it tried to escape from her mouth. Taking in a deep breath, she peered at her own reflection. She thought back to that white night half a year ago. This, she decided, was nothing compared to that. 6 months ago at the Kuonji estate, the hound of white roses, the wandered snatch, that appeared from within to take fog. It killed Aoko 100 times out of 10.
Me animae brutalis, otem eftura negata sunt. Manes sum, animam definire ambiguum est.
Is this stuff we've already read before? I'm gonna try and translate. My immortal soul? There, my future was killed. I am ghost. It is ambiguous to define the soul. I think we've already read that before, so fair enough. A dark curse shattered Aoko's daydream. It was only 30 feet away. The puppet turned at the corner. Our side stood in the shadows, their forms indistinct. The puppet gave no warning. Without preamble, it swiftly fired a Gander barrage. Just as Aoko planned, the curses fizzled out as he hit their mist-like barrier of magical energy. The protection would only last a few seconds, giving her just enough time to... Its stretchable spear sprang towards Aoko's face.
Bingo!
The lethal weapon grazed her cheek. All her experience analyzing puppet attack patterns gave her the wherewithal to evade the attack by a hair's breadth. It was one thing if a puppeteer were pulling the strings, but the autonomous dolls had terror limitations. Aoko had bet everything on this killing machine following a predefined template. The puppet would use a given attack for a given range, and she could adjust her tactics to that. Before its arm had a chance to fully retract, she charged the puppet. It was a risky gamble, but her overall chances were slim to begin with. The skills tipped in her favor. If her predictions were correct, there were 2 ways she would die. One was from a thin shot fired at that range. The other was if the puppet's attack pattern was beyond her ability to foresee. Instantaneous mass transfer, otherwise known as mass displacement. Immediately after Aoko dodged the puppet's arm, something smashed into her abdomen. The head-on collision from his shoulder felt like a rocket. But where had the ability to propel itself come from? Puppets like this were not built to have the ability to jet around like that. Doing everything in her power to stay conscious and spot up the pain, Aoko could just make out what had happened.
今の推進力じゃなくて牽引力。
Yes, the puppet's arm had not returned to its body. It was lashed to the wall and reeled itself in from the arrow direction.
そんなのありか。
Swallowing her surprise, she hastily pulled herself back up. Abandonment, specifically her diaphragm, had been dealt a significant. Okay, I'm gonna leave that running around. Diaphragm pronunciation, please. I'm sorry. This is all time.
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm. Oh, okay. Diaphragm had been dealt a significant blow. The attack left her disoriented. Thankfully, the puppet was surprisingly lightweight. Her bones and organs were intact as she had sustained no life-threatening damage. She was having a hard time breathing, however. She was shaken, but she managed to keep her calm. In another 2 seconds, she'd be back on her feet. Oh, that was 2 seconds too long! She told herself to calm down, but she was already calm. She didn't only briefly lost her bearings. She was fine. She could recover her breath, and a reason later, it felt like her body was ball.
Intellectus non necessaris est, iusque escat. Un nostro ablat fit. Ratio fix tantum est. Dolores nitium cerebrum fit.
Above her, Aoko could hear the warped noise of a powerful force.
足動け。でもどっちに行けば。
She could once more feel the touch of death.
Es salvatio, es salvatio, es salvatio.
The puppet was so close that Aoko could reach out and touch it. That also meant that it could reach out and kill Aoko.
こいつの右腕の死角に入れる。
By intuition alone, Aoko rolled over to the puppet's right flank. Its arm was still embedded within the wall. From here, it could not attack. She had made the right decision, and her dizziness faded.
Intellectus non necessaris est, piusque escat. Un nostro ablat fit. Ratio fix tantum est. Dolores nitium cerebrum fit.
So what you're telling me is I should become alter ego, okay. Aoko pulled herself back up. And it was her turn. It was only an instant. Within this labyrinth of mirrors, she saw an image of herself.
Es salvatio.
A blinding, brilliant light flashed. Lacerations appeared across the walls. At the last moment, Aoko managed to take in the magical energy running through her veins It's a primitive form of magecraft resistance. It just barely saved her life from what must have been the puppet's ace in the hole. Too bad she lost her nose. The puppet bore a striking resemblance to Aoko. This powerful curse was not satisfied with stopping Aoko's heart, but destroying her entire being. Aoko did not even have the time to be shocked. This was their chance for a counterattack. The puppet's balance was unsteady. Its right arm still embedded in the wall. Aoko prepared to give its defenseless body a strong kick, but her knees buckled, and she collapsed into a heap on the floor.
Vego in sum, solitare putres cuniferis. Ictius meus obitus dies, et meus natibus dies, Theobeam.
That sudden nausea and lightheadedness overcame Aoko. Her body temperature began to rapidly lower.
しま、こいつ呪いをばらまいてるんだった。
She noticed too late. The puppet's curses circled the hall. The guards chant that a puppet used as a source of power doubled as a defense mechanism, crippling those who drew near with illness. She bore the full brunt the entire time she was in close proximity to it. Although Aoko had magic secrets, she was succumbing just as Soujuurou had. Languidly, she forced her deteriorating body to jump back.
負けるか。
With all the energy she could muster, she forced her way past the exhaustion caused by the curse. However, Aoko's blood pressure took a steep nosedive, not from the curse-induced anemia, but from what appeared to thrive her. They stood in perfect harmony. In front of Aoko was the automata that shared her peace. Its left arm held out like an arrow. The deadly weapon shot forward and honed in on her heart. Then, a moment before it made contact...
危ない。
Thanks. The moment she heard the fearless voice, deadpan sort of, completely out of place in the storm of violence, Aoko's body was pulled forcefully to one side. Once again, the extending arm cut through the empty air. While Puppet quickly retracted its left arm, Soujuurou took the brief opportunity to take Aoko by the hand and flee at full speed. Soujuurou ran through the corridor as fast as she could, only stopping when he had put enough distance between them and the puppet.
その考えてみると
Well, I was thinking of leaving, but then more thoughts came into me, and I just stayed in one place for a little while, and then I forgot what I was gonna do, and here I am. Hi. What are we doing here again? Though he had saved her, she looked angry rather than grateful. That did not keep Soujuurou from saying his piece.
明日はどうも忙しいみたいなんだ。
In other words, let's finish this today. A rather awkward proposal? Aoko remained silent. She was also rather angry. Not that she could not figure out what made them tick. Not because he did return after escaping. Not even because he was spouting his typically airheaded lines. It was, she supposed, that instant. The fact that when he grabbed her hand, her mind had completely blank. Aoko thought it unforgivable. Which began the response.
あなた、正気。
In the heat of the moment, she blurted it before she could stop herself.
それとも自殺願望でもあったわけ。私もあいつも、あんたなんか殺す対象に過ぎないのよ。
Yet you failed. But go on.
少なくとも恩を売る相手じゃない。
Okay.
言っとくけど、私助けられたぐらいで曲がる信念は持ち合わせていないから。
Soujuurou nodded, clearly unperturbed.
青崎がそんな可愛らしいもんじゃないのはこの夜だけで骨身に染みてるよ。
She found herself slightly offended.
けど君は勘違いをしてるから少し正そう。あいつの狙いは青崎だけじゃない。君だけじゃなく俺も殺す気だと思う。
She was having none of it. Her eyes shot daggers his way.
話は最後まで聞く。どうしてかっていうと、1階の入り口あるだろ、あの細長い通路。なんでかあそこから先に進めないんだ。逃げたくても逃げ出せなくて仕方なく戻ってきた。
Aoko's eyes widened ever so slightly in amazement. Not out of shock, but out of admiration that her enemy would go to such lengths.
それにさっきので完全に敵扱いされた。あの人形こっちをじろっと睨んできたし。いや一瞬でよく見えなかったけど生きた心地しなかったな。青崎も気をつけた方がいい。多分よっぽど怖い顔をしているに違いないぞあれ。
それはご親切にどうも。
うん。なんでこれはもう他人事じゃないんだ。青崎と人形、結論としてどっちが勝っても俺は殺されてしまうんじゃないか。
So how about the root for the one I like the most?
そうね。そこまでやってるなら目撃者は消すでしょうね。私みたいに。
だろう。でも俺はあいつには殺されたくない。
え？
His words were decisive. As Aoko looked up at him, she could swear she was trying to encourage her. It was then that she realized. Soujuurou was looking even worse than before.
ちょっと待って。大丈夫なのあなた。
まあ醤油を一升瓶飲むよりはマシではないかと。
But she maybe tried, I suppose. He tried to make light of the situation, but his forehead was clearly drenched in sweat.
そうか。
It's not as
さっ
weird
き
as
人
me
形に
drinking
近づいたから。
vodka sauce, a whole bottle, just because I liked it. It screwed my stomach even more. Oh boy. How could he possibly be able to withstand the curse that made even Aoko nauseous? Strong? She bit her lip, annoyed herself for not noticing this earlier. Soujuurou was such an airhead that she hadn't even paused to consider his plight.
下で隠れていようとか思わなかったの？その方がどう考えても安全でしょ？
She really could not understand him at all.
それは青崎が言うセリフじゃないな。でもまあ長話をしている時間もない。そろそろ追いついてくる頃だ。
I mean, yeah, the music is playing a little bit again, so she must be close by. He turned to look down the corridor. The crackling sounds of a music box could be heard creeping forth from the darkness, exactly.
さっき1階にいて考えたんだ。君がやられても俺は殺される。ならまず奴をどうにかするべきだ。
あなた、何が言いたいの？
She asked a question to which she already knew the answer. She did it to put him to the test. If he wavered even a little, she would have killed him where he stood.
提案。あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら俺のことは見逃してくれる？
助けられたぐらいじゃ信念は曲げないって言ったでしょ。それにあなたに何ができるっていうの？
それは青崎が考えてくれ。得意だろそういうの。
The commander who had the overall picture was responsible for delegating roles to their teammates. It was futile to depend on someone who was unable to grasp the situation or evaluate the enemy's strength. Soujuurou was proud to share that he knew this. He spoke the truth. Aoko was the only one who knew about Soujuurou and the automata. That was why he pointed out that following her orders to the best of his ability was the only thing he could do. It may have seemed as though Soujuurou had surrendered his capacity for self-thought, but in fact, in accepting that he was helpless, he was in fact giving Aoko his complete trust.
じゃあ、私の指示に 100% 従うってこと？
Anything but hide and run away.
ああ、それにこれは恩とか義理の話じゃない。
Or hanging myself by a rope and then eating laxatives. That's a no-no too.
一人だと分が悪いから二人でかかるだけだ。善意でも好意でもない。取引って言わないか、こういうの。
His eyes sparkled as if this was bartering in its truest form.
まったく。
This child must have learned that from Tabimaru, Aoko thought. Though she refused to let him see it, underneath she cracked a smile. Sure, she had gotten the best of her just now, but there were times when defeat was not the worst outcome in the world.
労働と報酬ってわけね。それなら理にかなってる。うん。言いたくないけど。
She relaxed her shoulders and sighed. Her face cracked into a wicked smile, as if her tears had suddenly vanished away.
それ、結構私の好みよ。
Aoko repaid Soujuurou's trust in equal measure. Yay. Now let's kick ass.
結構きついかもね。あなたの役目。
Aoko warned Soujuurou, moving as fast as she could without their footfalls causing a din of noise. Soujuurou remained near the center of the spiral maze on the second floor.
実を言うと、もう一つ用意しておいた仕掛けがあるの。自分でもやりすぎだって呆れたもんだけど、あなたがここに来るのが遅かったから、ちょっと興に乗っちゃって。
お？仕掛けって俺用の？
How kind of you? Soujuurou tilted his head like a squirrel as Aoko freely discussed the final ace up her sleeve.
地下の柱に着火型のちょっとした魔術式を刻んでおいたの。中心の柱に点火することで連鎖的に他の柱に仕掛けた魔術も起動する。ジャミングを食らう前に作ったものだから直接魔力を叩き込めば一気にこういくわ。
Soujuurou was a little unsettled by how unclear that last bit was. It means explosion.
青崎、こうじゃわからない。できるだけ明確にどこまで爆破する気だったのか白状してくれ。あと、もしかして俺早まったか？
いや、単なる保険っていうか、追いかけっこの途中であんたを見失ったらいっそ建物ごと爆破しちゃおうかなって。
It was their policy to be to the end, after all. She left in embarrassment, saying it out loud, though.
いくらなんでも徹底しすぎてる。
Faced with Aoko's cruelty, Soujuurou forgot about the situation at hand and protested from the bottom of his heart.
何よ、いいじゃない。そのおかげでなんとかなりそうなんだから。
She shot back. Aoko dashed down the corridor, mumbling things that probably would have sent Soujuurou packing if he heard them. The strategy was simple. Aoko would use the escape route to the right to avoid the puppet while making her way down to the basement. Upon reaching the central pillar, she would infuse the formula she had prepared with magical energy and escape. Once ignited, it would take about a minute for the chain reaction to spread throughout the whole house of mirrors, and another minute for the building to collapse. She would be cutting it a little close. Because she had committed the meats to memory, she was sure she could make it out in time. Aoko assumed that the chain reaction caused by the pillar would clear the barrier that the puppet had placed at the entrance. And even if it was strong enough to withstand the blast, it would not be able to stay standing once the foundations buckled. Soujurou's escape was assured as long as the formula and the basement was activated. Next time, next came the most important part. The automaton was at a disadvantage in the obstacle-laden house of mirrors, and was unable to move at full speed. If it was near the center of the second floor, the building collapsed, it would be caught up and crushed by it. So the problem was keeping the puppet on the second floor until Aoko could make it down to the basement.
当てにしたからね、しずきくん。せめて3分ぐらいは引きつけて。
Ideally, he would be able to keep it busy until she could activate the formula. Yay. If that failed to work, him luring it down to the first floor would be the next best thing. She understood perfectly well the danger she was putting Soujuurou in, but his lucky streak and running speed were nothing to scoff at.
ただ逃げるだけなら、もしかしてとんでもないことをしてくれるかも、あいつ。
Aoko made her way through the hidden passage of the maze, her hopes pinned on Soujuurou. Meanwhile, well out of earshot, Soujuurou was readying himself for another desperate chase. He calmed his beating heart using a method of his own making. What mattered most was that he remained calm. The plan was simple enough. And Aoko's orders were succinct and easy to understand.
Succinct.
Succinct. Okay, screw me. At least it said. Cool.
10メートルぐらいの距離を保って、できるだけゆっくり通路を3、4周すること。横道は鏡のつなぎ目で覚えて。ここなら左回りで6、3、7、2枚目にあるから、そこをぐるぐる回ってれば比較的安全よ。
It was essentially a looping marathon. As long as Soujuurou maintained the distance of the puppet's extended arm, and just enough that she could continue to track him, she should continue chasing him indefinitely. Simple though the task was, Soujuurou was putting his life on the line as bait. And then there was the final order to run as fast as he could to the exit when the building began to sway.
結構じゃなくて、かなりきついんじゃないかな、これは。
Just a little. He nervously stuck his head out from around the corner. He could hear the sound of the music box from the other side of the corridor. First he had to make eye contact with it, then head through the shortcut on the right and began their game of tag. He spotted it and braced himself. Closer, closer. Fearing that her arm could fly at him at any moment, he went over Aoko's instructions in his head.
あれ
However, he could not quite remember which pane led to the first hidden passage. The third, the sixth, the ninth? How fortunate. No, he was sure that it was mistaken. He was confident he had it memorized moments ago, but his nerves had gotten the best of him and his head was now spinning. Then, Soujuurou realized that the sound of his pursuer was beginning to growing distant, and at an incredible speed.
Nani?
Something creepy? That's what? The unusual silhouette of the puppet astonished him. Before it had taken the form of a beautiful girl. But now it made a bizarre transformation. And returned to the first floor to pursue her primary target.
いや、それは。
No. Soujuurou was no longer sure what to do. But not even the time to mourn his failure, the puppet had vanished out of sight. And you know what? I think I'm gonna leave it's an episode here. Oh boy, I completely forgot that it could do that too. Boy, that was creepy though. Also, by the way, subscribe and see you search for another episode another time. Thanks.